Hey everyone, thank you for joining today's Lunch and Learn with Atomic Jolt, Atomic Assessments for STEM in Brightspace. I'm Lauren Romano, and joining me is Chris Johnson. He is our Regional Manager of Sales. It's National STEM Week, and it's a great time to explore better ways to assess your STEM learners in your LMS. Traditional assessment tools often fall short of delivering the complex, authentic testing experiences STEM subjects require. Before I pass this off to Chris, I will just quickly go over the agenda for this 30-minute session. Chris will start off with a brief overview of Atomic Jolt and what we do to enhance teaching and learning in Brightspace. Then we'll do a live demo of Atomic Assessment right in our LMS and show how it can be applied to your STEM programs. During the demo, feel free to drop all your questions into the Q&A. And the session is being recorded, so we'll follow up with everybody after to share the recording. If you'd like a more personalized demo, reach out to us and we will set up a trial or a demo for you. All right, Chris, off to you.
Thanks, Lauren. As Lauren mentioned, my name is Chris Johnson, Regional Director here at Atomic Jolt, and I'm looking forward to showing you atomic assessments and how you can utilize it for STEM learning in Brightspace. If you're unfamiliar with Atomic Jolt, just a quick overview. We've been in the education market for 20 years now, and we build applications that are designed to enhance teaching and learning. And in the pursuit of doing that, we've captured some great clients from all over the world who utilize Brightspace. You may be familiar with some of these institutions, and we support over 3 million learners per year who use our applications within Brightspace or some of the various other LMSs in education. Of course, today we're going to speak on atomic assessments and target it towards STEM learning. But what I'd like to show you is not only how atomic assessments can be used for your high stakes or summative assessments, but also how it can be used to enhance your learning content and make it more interactive and hopefully lead to better learning outcomes through practice within your learning content. We really solve a variety of challenges, but what we hear most often across all LMSs is that the quizzing functionality within the LMSs don't really lend themselves for authentic or critical thinking question types. They offer multiple choice, your true false questions, but more and more it's important to allow students to practice their learning with authentic assessments and do it in multiple different touch points. And so I'm prepared to show you how you can do that specifically around STEM education. And I'd like to start with the learner's experience. So we're going to hop into Brightspace and we're going to focus on some of these STEM question types that are available to enhance Brightspace through authentic assessment. All right. And as you'll see here, I'm going to start things out as Max Learner, a learner within this demo course, and click on some of our STEM content. Now, when we look at LMS learning content, we find that a lot of these learning pages or files are text heavy. They require the students to do a lot of reading without a whole lot of application. And with atomic assessments, this teacher has changed that. They've embedded a question directly into the learning content. So me as Max Learner, I'm not just required to learn about binomials and the FOIL method. I can actually start applying that right away with an assessment directly embedded into this learning content. And the advantages of doing this is one, it's really low stakes or low pressure assessments. It's open book, so this student can, again, review what binomials are, review the FOIL method, and then once they're ready, they can start answering this question. And with atomic assessments, we have these customizable keypads, so students aren't required to, try and figure out how they can translate the keyboard into, what they're trying to answer. They can easily start typing their answer utilizing this algebra or basic math keypad. Once the learner, fills out this information, again, because it is low stakes, they can check their learning. I'm definitely going to get it wrong here, but let's just check. And because this is low stakes, I have the ability to try this again multiple times until I can get this correct. Now, that's an example of how you can embed a question directly into learning content, prepare students for a more robust assessment. Let's take a look at the various different question types outside of just embedding a single question into learning content. And for that, I'm going to take this STEM program readiness. This assessment was designed, again, to place students to see where they're at across science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So this will really do well at highlighting all of our different question types, or most of our different question types within the STEM field. Starting out, we have a chemistry specific question type where students can look at a molecule and can answer or fill in the different components or structural formula. Now, you'll notice that this keypad is different from the mathematic question type that we had in that binomial. With atomic assessments, each time you create a question, you can choose which keypad you deliver to the students to make this process very easy for them. So if I wanted to start writing the formula of this, or the structural formula of the caffeine, I can do so here. And again, these keypads lend itself to the chemistry syntax. Moving on, we also have these adaptable inner item adaptability, which means if I'm a student and I'm having trouble getting the answer correct, not only do I have the ability to check my answer and know that I got it wrong, but we also allow this adaptability where students can have questions laid out step by step to ensure that they eventually get to that resolution. So in this case, the answer is delivered right for me, but let's pretend it's not. We're going to write out the question, and this is going to help me through the steps to ensure I eventually get my answer. So I've figured out the first step. Now it's asking me to solve for t squared. I can check my answer again. Now it's telling me to take the square root. And once I've filled out this entire question, now I'm prepared to go back and answer this correctly. Whoa, sorry, decimal places matter. So that's an example of not only how atomic assessments can help with these question types, but really outline step by step how to get to the right answer for your lower stakes assessments or for your formative assessments. We also offer drag and drop question type. So here's an example of, again, another science applicable question type where we're trying to label the DNA, and I can drag and drop these into the right placement. This question type specifically is accessible, so I can navigate through my keyboard, and then once I select the correct item, I can then place it into the right field, all using keyboard shortcuts. And then similar to that image drag and drop, we also offer image drop down question types. So here I can, instead of dragging and drop, just select from the drop down a list and choose the correct answer here. You'll notice that it's only delivering me a few questions at a time. I can review and go on to the next section. We're now going to our technology part of the STEM program readiness assessment. So here, if I'm in software engineering and I need to learn a little bit about for loops and while loops, rather than asking a question in a multiple choice format, I have diagrams of each and I'm able to drag and drop what each of these diagrams are. For your more complex technology question types, you can also have a file upload question type. In this example, we're asking our students to write in C++ and then upload that file directly into Atomic Assessments. You'll notice that the only file type that it's going to support when uploading this question type is our C++. Another way to take software engineering to the next level is through our token highlight question type. In this example, we have a sample of code, and we're asked to highlight the line where we're referencing an axis of value from an object, which is essentially asking, where it's getting this demographic information. So students can then, research this code and determine, okay, this is what it's asking for, highlight those. And this is showing that students authentically understand the code that has been written and can address directly the question that's being asked. Again, rather than the more traditional question types where you would have to ask multiple choice true false questions around coding, which isn't easy to do. The last question here in our technology portion of the STEM program readiness is a classification question type. So here we have different formats of data, and we're asking students to label which of these are examples of string, of integers, real, Boolean, and then again, we can move on to the next section. Moving to the engineering portion of the question, again, here's an example of where you can take an image of an electrical circuit and have students label these diagrams appropriately. Again, all of these are keypad accessible, so I can ensure that it's meeting the needs of all of our learners. In this case, we have an example of pressure and temperatures, and we're asking students to label, when the line increases and decreases through drop downs. And we can do that again with data. All right, now the fun part, mathematics. You saw earlier where we have the ability to do intra-item or intra-question help by allowing students to check their answer, but there's another tools that help students answer the question correctly. Not only, again, can I check the answer, but I also can hover over specific terms like multiplying binomials. And this is giving us just a quick pop-up that teaches us, again, about the FOIL method to ensure that we get that answer correct. And then once I go to answer that question as the student, I have that customizable algebraic keypad available to me. In this next question type, we have a geometry question where we can label the angles and length of a triangle. But what's really helpful of atomic assessments is not only do we offer over 40 different question types, but we also allow teachers to embed tools that make answering these questions easier or more real life. So here I have a protractor, and if I wanted to measure this angle, I can use a working protractor to measure this angle, ensure I get it correctly. It's fully usable where I can, rotate this 360 degrees and start answering this question again with that keypad. So at this point, you've seen, polynomial question types, labeling geometric. We also have graphing question types. So if you're trying to graph lines, graph circles, graph parabolas, our question types support all of these different questions and allow mathematics to, again, really apply the information that's being proposed by your teacher and within your textbook without being taken outside of Brightspace. And then I can submit this question. So hopefully this, I'm not ready to be in STEM, as you can see. Hopefully this shows you how you can deliver STEM assessments through a variety of different question types. But let's take a look at how you can do that from the teacher's perspective. So here, I'm just switching gears back to myself here, and I want to mirror what happened here in this binomial question type where a question is directly embedded into learning content. But this time I want to do so in this overview of an Atom webpage. Again, a great resource, but it's a little bit too text heavy and doesn't lend my students to be able to apply the learning that's happening here within this learning page. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this HTML. And wherever appropriate, I can edit the text and select insert stuff and choose atomic assessments from the insert stuff item. I can choose and embed some of my favorite question types, choose for it to show us all the question types that we offer, which is over 40 at this point. Or if I've already created a question and an assessment, I can choose it right here. So here I have atomic structure already built. I'm just going to easily insert this into that learning content. And then if we look at this from the student's perspective, we now have a fully baked page that has information on atomic structure, but we also have an embedded question where they can answer it directly within the learning page. That's an example of how we can easily embed interactive courseware. But if you did want to build a more high stakes assessment, let's go ahead and leave this page. We can go into our Atomic Assessments Activity Manager. And from here, we can author assessments. Oh, I'm trying to view it as a student. Bear with me. From here, we can build high stakes assessments. So in this case, I'm just going to create a quick one. And we're going to create a question from scratch. Now, we hear from faculty members that because we offer over 40 different question types, sometimes it's helpful to just show the most commonly used question types. And so here in Atomic Assessments, you can pin your most frequently used question types so that you can quickly access these questions right within that first page. But if we cycle through here, you can see all of the question types we offer. Of course, a variety of multiple choice, fill in the blank, which you've seen from the student experience, as well as classifying, match and order, your written and recorded question types, highlight and drawing, and then we do have math specific, science specific, chemistry specific question types that again allow your students to assess their learning in more meaningful ways. In this case, we can just create a question type. I love this drawing question type where you can upload an image. Let's do that DNA. And rather than having our students drag and drop question types, we might want to have them annotate this string of or strand of DNA. We also can ensure that this is accessible by putting alt text on each of our images. We can choose the various different tools that they have. If I wanted to provide multiple colors where they can label this, I typically like things to be annotated in blue or black ink, and so we're going to give those as options. And now we've just quickly created an authentic question that allows students to use their stylus or keypad to mark each part of the DNA. All right. Again, there are over 40 different question types that lend themselves to STEM and really extend the assessment capability outside of what Brightspace currently offers. And so if ever you wanted to take a look at some of these more robust question types in greater detail, feel free to reach out to me and Lauren, and we can set up a demonstration of how you can create a binomial question type or how you can create a human anatomy question type. From there, I just want to quickly show you we have adaptive capabilities, and I don't want to go too far into those. We're going to offer an entirely separate webinar that shows you the adaptability or how you can create intra-item adaptability, intra-section adaptability. But we do offer a lot of customizations that ensure that your students are getting the most of their assessments Here's an example of how we can do it section by section within each question, or how they answer each item determines what question they're delivered next. So if you're really trying to differentiate your students' learning, you can do that through our adaptive capabilities, which again allow you to branch and meet each student's needs individually. Lastly, whenever a student does fill out an atomic assessment, whether it's in-page or more of a high-stakes assessments, we have reporting and grading capabilities. And I wanted to take a look at this real quick. So each time a student's filled out one of these assessments, you can click on these reports that show you where each student is within that learning journey. It allows you to moderate. So in this case, where Maria only got 1.79%, we might ask her, what happened and if she had any trouble. It looks like she only had 19 seconds. So we can, give the students some additional time. In this case, I'm going to give her the full 90 minutes back. I can also review how each of the students did on a per question level, toggling through each of the questions in this assessment and seeing how our students did. I can look at each individual score on each assessment and determine if one of these questions need to be thrown out or if we need to go in and add additional points to some of these question types, along with statistical analysis, giving the students or giving the faculty members some indication on how each question is doing by giving them the average and standard deviation, along with the discrimination index of each question type. And lastly, if you want to see how your students are learning based on their learning outcomes, we do have a learning outcomes dashboard that allows you to toggle each of the learning outcomes you're measuring in these assessments and get a dashboard of how they're performing based on those learning outcomes. So I hope that in this webinar, I showed you how you can utilize atomic assessments to offer more question types in Brightspace, but not only for your Brightspace quizzes, but also for the more formative piece to ensure that your students are ready for those high stakes assessments. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out. But from that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Lauren.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. Be sure to look out for our follow-up email with the recording. Have a great day.